Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Rob's Little Blue Book. And I said it was a secret tonight. I'm going to tell you what the secret is now before we get into things. So this is something I've been wanting to do for a little while, and it's one of my. The reason I wanted to do it this week is it's getting around to my dad's birthday, and this was one of his favorite sandwiches. This was his go-to sandwich. Anytime we went out for pub food or whatever, he always ordered a French dip or a beef dip sandwich, and I wanted to do that on stream. And it's not a super complicated sandwich. It's got an interesting origin, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But as well as that, I have been also sort of binging my way through The Bear, which is a show on Disney, I think, and it takes place in a Chicago sandwich shop, and the Chicago beef sandwich is another kind of dip sandwich. And I've been watching the show, and it looks like a really good sandwich, so I thought I would try and recreate that at the same time. So we're going to try and do both tonight, and it's going to be a little chaotic, or I'm like halfway through a whole bunch of things. I've tried a whole bunch of things, and we're going to talk about what worked and what didn't work and what needs to be fixed. And I'm just going to do that with you guys. I can't even TV time a lot of this because things like some of the ingredients I had to start like a few days ago, and I'll explain that as we go through everything. But before we jump into all of that, I had somebody ask me recently what my favorite cookbooks were. So I want to dispense with the tip of the week, and it's cookbooks. And I just wanted to tell you, I'm going to show you some of my favorite books, and more importantly, why they're my favorite books. So let's start with that, and I'll tell you what I look for in cookbooks in no particular order. This was one of the first cookbooks. This is Peace, Love, and Barbecue, and this is one of the first. I've had this a long time. This is one of the first cookbooks that kind of turned me on to the idea. This one and Thomas Keller of the books being more interesting when you hear the chefs, cooks talk about the food than the actual recipes. I can give you a couple of quick tips for which cookbooks are worth buying. If they list the number of recipes in the book on the front, it is not worth buying. Especially if it's a plus after the number, over 500 plus. And I've actually seen, that's redundant, I've actually seen over 500 plus recipes. So the grammar is terrible, the concept is terrible. Nobody needs 500 recipes of anything. The optimal number of recipes in a book, maybe 25, 50. That's all you need. And they should exemplify what the person's talking about. Peace, Love, and Barbecue is fantastic because the author traveled all over to the signature barbecue places all over the States. It's kind of one recipe from each person, but more importantly, he interviews them and he learns why they make the food that they make, and that, to me, that's way more interesting. And honestly, as a cook, you will get way more out of that than you will just reading a book of recipes, because the philosophy and the drive to cook is what's important. The motivation more important than the ingredients. So that's one. I'm gonna put these here, I guess. And again, this one is also a fantastic book. This is Eric Ripert's A Return to Cooking. Eric Ripert, if you don't know, is a super famous chef, one of the best chefs in the world. He had an interesting career where he was very talented and ended up being a sort of corporate chef, opening restaurants, being a consultant, and all this stuff. And he felt that he was losing his connection with the cooking. And so he grabbed a couple of friends, an artist friend who does a lot of the illustrations in the book, and he traveled around the world visiting all of his friends. He took a year of sabbatical, traveling around the world, visiting his friends, going to the local markets, and cooking whatever happened to inspire him. So, these recipes aren't even really recipes. They're just notes of what he cooked when he got to his friend's place. And it's absolutely fantastic. And what makes it fantastic is he talks all about why he loves cooking. And A Return to Cooking is his literal reconnection with cooking. So that's another one. And your books will be different. The ones that speak to you will be different than mine, right? You'll have different interests. You'll like different things. Okay, so this one's kind of the exception because there's no chefs that talk about food in this one. This is The Professional Chef. It's the textbook for the Culinary Institute of America, and this is straight up technical expertise, how to do everything in the most efficient, correct way possible. It's a bit of a slog in a lot of ways, and you have to scale a lot of the recipes back, because if you're not making stock for 200 people, the quantities will be wrong, but it's still well worth reading. I'm gonna go to, this is sort of a current favorite, and again I'm gonna start moving a little bit faster. Pickles, Pigs, and Whiskey. This is similar to Peace, Love, and Barbecue, except it's just one guy, John Kearns, Southern Restaurant, Southern Cooking. He moved to, I believe, Mississippi from the South and opened a restaurant. And these are Southern New Orleans Cajun-inspired recipes, and they're great. And most importantly, he talks about why he cooks the way he cooks and what's important to him. And these recipes, each one exemplifies a particular thing he talks about. And he even has a playlist. Like, every recipe is accompanied by a song that he paired with the recipe, so it's kind of interesting. Also, another travel book, real quick, Fried and True. This one is really interesting because it's about fried chicken. I love fried chicken. However, if you read through this recipe book, there's only really so many ways to cook fried chicken. And these recipes, honestly, don't differ all that much. The quantities are slightly different. The concepts are like the same. But again, each person has a story, and they cook the way they cook for a specific reason. And learning those things, you embody that. You can bring that into your own cooking, and learn why you cook, the things you do. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to go real quick. This is Thomas Keller, Ad Hoc at Home. If you're going to get a Thomas Keller book, get this one. Don't get the French Laundry, because you will never make anything in it unless you have 2 or 3 weeks to prepare each recipe. I've done most of them in the French Laundry cookbook. They are amazing. They're not for the home cook. I mean, let's face it, they're just not. They are amazing, and you can tackle them after you get really good at cooking. But yeah, maybe not your first time out. Anyway, Ad Hoc at Home is great because it's all family style cooking. It's basically staff meals from around the world compiled into a book, and that's just one of my favorite ways to cook too. So there you go. Any questions on the cookbooks? I'm going to put these back up here. I don't see any questions. Okay. Okay, so let's switch over to switch cameras and start talking about how the night's going to go. So we're doing 2 sandwiches. We're doing the French dip, which is a little more basic than the Chicago beef, and we're doing the Chicago beef. So the first thing we need to do is get the jus going for the French dip. And the Chicago one's already done, and I'll get into why it's already done in a second. We have to fix it, so we're going to do that in a few minutes. But let's get the one going for the French dip, because it's actually relatively straightforward. Okay, I'm going to need some shallots real quick, so let's do that. Any questions on anything as we go through this? I feel like we're kind of like going through it quick, but split this guy. Okay, so we're going to start with a little shallots here, just to build like flavor base. You could also just dice onions here. Those go in. Maybe get some heat going. A little oil in there. I'm going to start this with a little bit of butter and probably a little bit of olive oil. Build up some flavor there. But you guys can't actually see that. Let me bring that back to the front and center. Do I have a switch anywhere? That's going to be interesting. Okay. All right. I seem to have left a couple things upstairs, but that's okay. I'll just make do here. Okay, we're going to get this going. Okay, so let's talk about the other ingredient in this. So we're going to just start with the shallots. I'm going to tip in a bit of Worcestershire sauce and maybe some garlic powder. And then we're going to add the beef stock. So that's one of the things that took forever. You guys can still see. So this is the beef stock, and this is, you can use, if you can find a good quality homemade, good quality store-bought stock, there's no reason not to use that. But homemade stock is just generally always better. Even the best store-bought stocks are just, they're not as good as homemade stocks. So I spent, and this is half, the other half went into the Italian one, a good beef stock, and it takes about 16 to 24 hours. Will be at in the fridge. Will gelatinize like this from all the gelatin in it. So we're going to use that. It's one of the reasons it's just. Thanks, Rebecca. It's one of the reasons this. I just couldn't. This was impossible. That I couldn't even show you. Like, I had a giant my cast iron Dutch oven out on the stove, and 8-10 pounds of beef bones and beef shanks and all kinds of crazy stuff. It was quite a thing, I gotta say. And the other ingredient too, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is the giardiniera, which is this over here. This is for the Chicago beef sandwich. You have to brine that for 24 hours, then it's got to then pickle it for another 2 to 3 days. Just not something I could do on stream. Okay, I'm just trying to soften this. And I'm probably just going to use all of this stock. Not quite yet. The beef stock it turned out really well, and the butcher at the store was really nice. They actually had entire leg bones in the counter. So this is the Freshco butcher, which is near me. They have a little in-house butcher called Lucky's Meats. I've never seen it in any other Freshco. But yeah, he had an entire leg bone, which was like this big, and it was $12, which is a pretty good price. And anyway, he ran it through the bandsaw and cut it up into chunks for me, and it just made some amazing stock. Now, if we had more time, you would probably do this a little slower and caramelize these. I'm doing this a little bit faster. As I said, take your time when you're cooking. Okay, we're almost there. As you guys can see the color too. I managed to get a little more light on the top here, but I'm still looking for that quality light. I'll get there. Almost there, I think. Almost there. Yep. Okay. So then I'm just gonna pop that right in there. And that will quickly lose its gelatinization, and you can just let that simmer for a little bit. Okay, that is ready to go. So for the French dip, let's just run through real quick the other ingredients. The bread for a French, so it's interesting, the buns are different. For a French dip, we're going to use a baguette. I'm just going to cut out probably this part here to use for our sandwich. This is an Ace baguette. You want it like this side's better. You want a crunchy, let's do it now. That's what I'm thinking about it. So for a French dip, you want a crunchy sandwich, or a crunchy sandwich. You want a crunchy roll. And I'm just going to take the best section out of this, like that, and just split it like, about there. I don't really want to go all the way through. I'd like this to open up a little bit. Yeah, it's perfect. Okay, so that's done for later. And then the other thing we have to do is slice up the beef. I think we're going to do that next. So there's a bunch of different ways you can do your roast beef. The easiest way, of course, is to just buy sliced roast beef or shaved roast beef at the store. But I decided to make it. And so this was a braise. And what I did, because I needed to, and I'm kind of going based on what I saw on the show. You know, it's they go through the edits pretty quick on what's actually going on in the kitchen. But it looks like they braised it. And so I took the homemade beef stock and I seasoned it with like an Italian seasoning blend, which we can talk about in a second. And then I braised it. And then I let it braise uncovered for too long. And then I reduced, so here's the braising liquid. You guys can see, and again, this is gelatinized. But this started out, when I first did it, as like a quart and a half of stock. And I have this now super concentrated, insanely flavorful base, which we now have to make back into some sort of jus. So we're going to do that in a second. But let's get through slicing the beef. And you really want to do this as thin as possible. Ideally, like a rotary meat slicer would be perfect. The problem with the rotary meat slicers is the home versions suck. Like, they're really bad and they don't do what they're supposed to. And the restaurant versions, of course, are in high demand and they cost, you know, even used, they're $400 or $500. And even for me, that's a bit of a stretch for a kitchen appliance that I won't use all that often. So what we're going to try and do is just get like a really, well, not that thin, good chance to practice your knife skills here. But we really do want to just shave it. So I don't know if you guys can see like how thin. That's pretty thin. You want to put that thin. This is even thinner. This is going to take a little bit of time. There. See, like, you want it like that. And of course, this. Hey, Paul, how's it going? Yeah, it looks good. One of the reasons, Paul, I wanted to. One of the reasons we're doing the sandwiches is because it's getting close to Dad's birthday, and we're doing the French dip sandwich and the Chicago dip, sort of because he loved those sandwiches. So you can see again, it's like really, really, really thin. So the crust, you can see where the spices have discolored the meat there. But I'm just gonna do this as quickly as possible. Again, this is, I don't know if you guys can see, but Rebecca, this is a cold roast. This came out of the fridge, like, I wouldn't want to try and do this at room temperature. This came out of the fridge just before stream. You could also probably do this on a mandolin. But mandolins kind of scare me, and so I'm just going to do it by hand. It's just easier. Cut up as much as I need here. Yeah, I remember those, Paul. Those were amazing. I haven't been down to St. Lawrence in a little while. It's consistently, of course, voted like, you know, top. So what I'm going to actually do here is I'm going to split this, make it easier to cut. Okay, this is now too high. Hang on. I'm going to split this like this. And you always want to cut with the grains, I can remember. It'll just be easier. And also, I want the slices about this size for the sandwich. I don't want them like... Rebecca, that's a good question. You kind of pile it pretty high. So I'm going to cut most of this and just pile it on and eyeball it. You'll see when we get towards the prep, what we're going to do is warm this up in a pan with some of the dip, the jus, and then just pile it onto the sandwich. Oh, by the way, this cut, the cut is not super important, but I would use a round roast, top or bottom, This is a bottom round, and the advantage of the bottom round is that it's very lean, and you don't really want a lot of fat in the sandwich. Wow. Does not want to go through. The crust is really tough. Gonna do this the easy way. Okay, I'm gonna leave that guy alone for a sec and just get into this guy here. Making my life a little bit harder tonight. But I feel good about the texture of this meat. Just pile that over there. No, I'm being careful about it. This is definitely not a time when you want to rush. Probably have enough already, but I'm kind of like on a roll, and I feel like I should just finish it off. Definitely, at this point, considering spending $500 on a rotary slicer. But you could use, you could use a lot of different cuts of meat here. I mean, it's probably overkill to use like a really expensive cut. Like I wouldn't use a strip loin or a ribeye or something. Although they use, they use ribeyes for, whatchamacallits. What am I talking about, guys? The ones with Cheese Whiz, Philly cheesesteaks uses a ribeye. So it's actually a very, I can throw money in my problems. It doesn't always work, that's the problem. Okay, let's just even faster here, get some small pieces of cut up. I'm gonna save that for a snack for later. I'm going slow guys, don't worry. How did I go this? Didn't think I'd be shaving down the whole thing for you guys, but why not? Okay, I'm gonna leave the ends because they're a little tricky to cut. I feel like I'm pushing my luck just a little bit. But yeah, okay. Any questions on the beef? I'm really pleased with the way this turned out. I was a little apprehensive because of course I didn't cut into it, and I did this yesterday, but it seems to have worked out okay. Okay, so, and I'm going through my list of things we have to fix. The next thing is, actually I don't need this again. Let's fix the Chicago jus, which we're gonna do in this pot right here with this burner. This is going to be a little trickier. So as I said, this is like, I tasted this. It is unbelievably concentrated, and it's actually quite spicy. One of the spices, and I'll run down the spice list in just a sec for you guys so you know what I seasoned this with. Let's get this melted. And we're just going to have to add water to it, I think. Or some of it. I think I was going to add more broth to it, but I think honestly, I just need to thin this out with just straight up water. So normally, I wouldn't add water to something because water doesn't have any flavor. But in this particular case, I really need to spread the flavor out. So that's what we're going to try and do. And we're just going to go slow, not do a crazy amount at a time. Say like, that much. Yeah, thanks, Paul. As I said, the funny thing about prepping all this was just that it was so involved getting everything together. And it's, I mean, partly that's almost by design, especially for the Chicago beef. One of the things that sandwich places do is they make the preparation complicated. I'm going to taste it in just a sec. Complicated enough that you can't make them at home, right? Well, it's not warm yet. That's already much better. Still, okay, I'm gonna let this, it needs to come up to temperature. But it's definitely better. Let me run down the list of spices that are in this for you guys. And any of you can just ask me, or you can just look it up. In this particular one, I used fennel seeds, coriander, sweet paprika, dried oregano, some basil, thyme, black peppercorns, and the red chili flakes. So it's supposed to be very flavorful. And it's not, I didn't say salt. The salt is mainly like from the roast. But this is already making me feel much better. Guys, when I tasted this yesterday, when I put it in the fridge, it was so strong. It was unbelievable. And I was also worried that I'd used, just a little more water to that. So it's okay. It's okay that it has a very, very strong flavor. Because this is not, so first of all, remember, this is not a soup. I'm not going to be eating this by the spoon. This needs to be strong enough to season the sandwich, right? Oh, and I think it's great. Okay, so that wasn't as hard as I thought to fix. That's actually really good. So it's okay to have it very, very strong tasting because it's good. It needs to season the whole sandwich, right? Okay, so let's go back to the other jus, which I haven't salted at all yet. So let me just taste this one. Okay. And that is actually, that's quite flat tasting, the other jus. And again, I can go a little bit harder on the salt for this one because I need to season the entire sandwich with the jus. So it's okay if the jus itself is pretty salty, because once you put it on the sandwich, it won't be as strong. Oh yeah, it's better. Okay, everything's coming up Millhouse. I'm happy with the way things are going. Okay, I do want that to simmer a little bit longer. Let me see if I can just move stuff out of the way here. This one doesn't need to simmer because it was in the pot for 24 hours practically. Okay. Give me a sec, guys. A little cleanup. So any questions? I still feel like, as I said, I knew it was going to be a little chaotic tonight because just of the way things happened yesterday. So we're going, oh, that's right. I wanted to add a little Worcester to the, not a lot. We're just going to kiss it, I guess, with the Worcester. I was going to add a little bit of garlic powder to the French dip jus, but I think I'm not going to. I quite like the way it tastes, so I'm just going to leave well enough alone. And let's get this thing going. I'm going to put this literally on the back burner. Get this out of the way. And we can start talking about the ingredients for the two sandwiches. Which one do you guys want to see first? Should we just do them at the same time? I don't think I can do them at the same time, to be honest. So I think we're going to do them one at a time. I'm going to run through the rest of the ingredients for the Chicago sandwich, okay? So the Chicago sandwich for the bun, we're going to use, well, I'm just turning the surface here. You want to use an Italian bun, or like an Italian sandwich roll, and the difference between this and the baguette, let me find a good one. I want a good shape here, this one. The difference between the baguette and the Italian bun is the Italian bun has it's a soft top, it's a soft roll. And apparently that's what you want for the sandwich. So they make a big deal of it in the show, The Bear. I'm just going to take the ends off because I want the squared ends. And this is not split, so we'll just split it up. And again, I kind of don't want to go all the way through here. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about the other ingredients for the Italian beef sandwich. We've got the beef. These are roasted green peppers. Really easy to do. You just roast them in a roasting pan until they get soft. And then we have our giardiniera, which is an Italian pickled, it's an Italian pickle. So in here I have, there's different ways. There's always carrots, celery, and some kind of pepper. Serrano peppers if you can get them. Jalapeno peppers if you like it hot. Anything you want really. I added a little cauliflower to this one because I had one in the fridge. There's a garlic clove and there's some spices. So again, it was more than I could do for stream. So this is going to be more of like an inspirational one. You guys may have to go out and do a little more research and make this sandwich your own. But to make this sandwich, we're going to warm up the beef in the broth, and then the giardiniera and the peppers, and then the dip part. And let's talk a little bit about the dip part, because here's something that I didn't know about the dip sandwiches. Because if you go to any restaurant in Toronto and order a French dip, any kind of dip sandwich, you're going to get the sandwich and you're going to get a little ramekin or dish on the side to dip it in. However, if you order a French dip in LA where it was invented, and there's two original shops that fight over who invented it, I don't even remember their names. It's not terribly important. You can order it, when you order it, you'll say, well, dry, like on the side, which I don't think anybody ever does, or half dip, full dip, or wet. And a half dip is when they take the entire sandwich and dunk it in the broth and then wrap it up. A full dip is they dip it half, each half. And a wet is like they plunk it and they hold it. And then they take it out and wrap it up. So this is a messy sandwich to eat, and I can understand why restaurants don't do that, but it just sounds awesome to me. So that's what we're gonna do tonight. So let's continue on. And I sort of threw that out there, guys. What do you guys want? Which one do you want to see first? Did I say we were gonna do them at the same time? I don't think I can do them both at the same time. I'm gonna wait, like, I know there's lag, so I'm gonna wait like 20 seconds and then I'm just gonna pick. This is me waiting 20 seconds. I'm very impatient, so I'm probably only gonna wait about 15. Okay, I'm going to do the French dip first, and I'll tell you why. Because that sandwich will be milder in taste, and I want to do a proper taste test of both sandwiches. So it'll be milder in taste than the Chicago. So let's bring this over here. This can just go over here. Got a little bit of heat there. Let's get a pan going. We want a little of our jus in the pan here. Not a ton. And let's get a sandwich worth of meat going here. That doesn't seem like enough, does it? Let's really do it up. Okay, we're just gonna warm this up, and we don't need to get this super hot. Just warm is fine. Okay, so the other ingredients for the French dip, of course, are, and this is a codified sandwich, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on tonight, is Swiss cheese and mustard. I'm going to use, you can use any hot mustard you like. Speaking of St. Lawrence Market, I'm using Kozlik's Canadian mustard from St. Lawrence Market. Well, you can get it anywhere now, but I get it at the market, and I think it's a really great mustard. So, yes, I know I'm using a metal utensil in here, but I left my other ones upstairs, so I'm just being gentle. It's not quite warm enough. Any other questions? It's really good already. I have high hopes for this, guys. No, Rebecca. So the interesting thing is, in the restaurant, they have like a big, tall container of the thing, and they just, boom, the whole sandwich goes in. It's awesome. You'll see, because I'm going to do it with this pan. I'm gonna do a half dip. I think I'm gonna do a half dip so I can try like both sides. Oh, here we go. Okay. So you don't want to get this too hot because you don't want your roast beef to get like super tough. But I feel like this is warm enough. Yeah, I gotta go like just a little bit more. Okay, screw that down. One thing I do miss kind of a little bit about the old place is I had a bigger counter, which was handy. Turn that down all the way. Okay, so we're doing, this is the French roll for, this isn't a very big roll. Okay. Let's get this going. I'm going to put all of this meat in no matter what. Stuff this guy. We want to keep the jus with it. I'm going to put this jus back in the thing here. This can go here. So then we have our provolone. I'm still on Philly cheesesteaks. We've got our Swiss cheese. I'm going to go with 2 pieces of that. And our mustard. I've got other spoons down here. Really like. Oh, here we are. And you can be pretty generous with the mustard in this sandwich. Don't be shy. A lot of flavors going on here. Then we're going to take it. Oh, no, I just put the mustard on. All right. And now we're going to do the dip. And it just goes like this. And you know what? I'm going to dip this whole thing. I just love this concept. So I'm just going to get this guy right in there. Okay. There we go. Now, I'm going to cut it in half so that I can actually eat it. Yeah, this is a messy sandwich. So this is where you have to, what they say, like when you do this with a Philly cheesesteak, is you adopt the, so let me just show you guys how awesome this looks. This is where you adopt the Philly lean, where you, when you eat a Philly cheesesteak, you lean over the counter or your plate and just dive in. They're messy. It's really good. Wow, this is a big sandwich. And of course, you would also serve this with jus on the side, so that if it wasn't somehow have enough, you could like dip it in even more. There you go. So ironically, it actually needed more. It needed to be dipped. Let me show you guys. So I know you're not supposed to double dip, but I'm going to. There you go. I do have a whole other sandwich to eat. I should slow down. Yeah. So that's really fantastic to me. It just tastes really good. This brings back a lot of memories for me. This is still a sandwich I order in restaurants. Just for the memories. It's also a solid thing to order in a restaurant if you've never been to before. It's kind of hard to screw it up. But, yeah. Okay. One down. One down. And I'm just going to put this here for now. Give this one a rinse. And we're like on to round 2, guys. Just give me 1 sec to wash this real quick. I'm still getting used to, I don't think you can, Rebecca. I think the whole thing would fall apart. I didn't see anybody actually even try that. So I'm going to have to go with no on that one. I also don't really see any reason to do it that way. Okay. So for this sandwich, as we already talked about, we're going to heat up some more beef. We are going to do, whatchamacallit, some of the roasted peppers, no cheese, and some giardiniera. Okay, let's do this. So, again, let's just switch places here so you guys can see. I'm going to take a little bit of the jus, and you don't need a lot. Put this back over here. Mound in some beef. Be a little more conservative with the beef this time. Nah, I'm not going to be conservative. Who are we kidding? Not really my style. Okay. Go a little bit faster here. Bring this up to temperature. All we want to do here is get the beef wet, get it warmed up. And then do the dip. So I have a feeling this sandwich is not going to be Serena's favorite because it's actually pretty spicy. Those chili flakes really in the reduced jus really kind of added up. Okay, so I'm going to put this over. I know you guys can see that now. Let's get our sandwich thing back. I'm going to let that go just for a couple of seconds. Just a couple of seconds there. Any questions on the French dip? I gotta tell you, it was really good, guys. I will say, if you wanted to, you can't make a Chicago beef dip on short notice because of the prep for the ingredients. However, the French dip, if you could find a good quality stock, you could do what I did. Just fortify, saute a little onion or shallots, throw in a little bit of butter, a little Worcester, and let it simmer for a few minutes, and you're going to have a pretty good jus. So the French dip is something you could do kind of on shorter notice, I guess. Okay, well, I think this is ready to go. Again, I'm just going to mound this up in the center. The beef looks great. I am really pleased with the way the beef came out. And I'm dipping this guy anyway, so I'm just going to like sauce it up. Okay, so now we want coming apart already. Okay, so let's figure this out. We want our jardiniere down one side, and this is stored in. Yeah, Rebecca, I think you could do you couldn't do a quickie. I mean, you could do a quickie Chicago beef if you had the jardiniere and everything in your fridge already. Okay, so that's our pickle down one side, and our couple of peppers down the other. Maybe one more for luck. This is where it's going to get really interesting. Fold this guy up. We got a whole garlic clove in there. Okay, and then we are going to take it and dip one side like that. Okay, this pan isn't quite as deep as the other one. So I'm going to just see if I can dip the ends here. There we go. Let it swim in there. I think they would call this the wet style. There we go. Feeling good about this. Okay, and again, I'm going to split this guy in half and show you guys, and we're going to do our taste test. Oh, cleanse my palate, of course, because... No, I'm kidding. Okay, I'll flip this up so you guys can have a look. That's the inside of the sandwich. Let's go to town. Mmm. Wow. So that is just like... that is just a flavor bomb. Like... you have the acid from the pickled, like the jardiniere, and the potency, the spicy potency of the sauce. Like, wow. It is a heavily spiced sauce. And then the roasted peppers add a little bit of depth, although, to be honest, they're kind of hard to taste. Nope. I got it that time. Yeah. That's great. It's super messy. I don't know if you guys can see like how messy this sandwich is. I'm just gonna dip. Look. Again, messy. Okay. So that's really good. I'm gonna have one more bite and we'll talk a little bit. Give me a sec. I'm actually gonna even just like, I know this is soaking wet. I'm gonna dip it in some more. Okay. So there is, yeah, I think you're right for the sandwich, Bob. More meat is definitely better. There is a Chicago sandwich place in Toronto, which I'm gonna check out. I'll report back and see if mine was even close. Wow, it's really good. Regardless of, so it's still pretty intense, Rebecca. I feel like I could almost, I don't know. It's really good. I don't want to mess with it. I think maybe you could take it down a notch in terms of dilution, but I'm not totally sure. I really like it. So the pickle's great. I mean, by the way, this is concentrated flavor. It's actually, Rebecca, it's actually not that salty. The only salt in this whole sandwich is just what was in the meat. I didn't salt this broth. So I salted this one, the jus for the French dip, but not the one for the Italian. Okay. That's kind of where I wanted to get to. I can't imagine this with like jalapenos or even serrano peppers, which are pretty spicy. It would be a hot sandwich. Let's turn this off. So, what do we want to talk about? Let's talk a little bit about next week. If anybody has any ideas. I'm going to have one more bite. This is really good. I have one more sandwich. I kind of like on a sandwich kick. I'm not, because sandwiches are one of those things where certain recipes, dishes, sandwiches, whatever you want to call them, become entrenched and stand the test of time. You know, you got a club sandwich and a Reuben, and all of those sandwiches are, and it doesn't have to be a sandwich. I just kind of wanted to work on the idea of iconic flavors and recipes. So, oh, that's a really good one, Rebecca. And you know what else is from the California Sandwich Shop? They do the veal sandwich too. So yeah, I almost want to do another week on that. Because there is something that separates a Reuben or a club sandwich or any sandwich with a name really versus a bunch of stuff on a bun, right? Like even the, I'm not going to do it on stream, but even like the sausage and pepper onion sandwich that you get at state fairs all over like Pennsylvania. It's an iconic sandwich, and it's a fantastic flavor. Reuben is with an E, Paul. It's, I don't even remember what it's in a Reuben, to be honest. It's some kind of ham or pork. Somebody look up a Reuben sandwich. I said it because it's one of the sandwiches I know. Yeah, that Rebecca knows. Yeah. Montreal smoked meat. There you go. Like Schwartz's Deli would serve a Reuben. Probably a good one. Isn't there pickles on it or something? It has a weird ingredient too. Okay. Now I'm just picking out. Leave next week with me, guys. I have a couple of other ideas anyway. Wow, it's spicy, and I'll figure it out. That's good. Anyway, that's all I have to say for you guys tonight. There we are, mustard sauerkraut. Oh yeah, it's sauerkraut. That's what it is. So we could do Reuben. I mean, we can do a couple sandwiches, or even just talk about the idea of sandwiches. I do want to talk a little bit next week too, and where I want to take all of this is into creating your own, and it's a book I'm going to share with you guys next week. I used to have a book called The Flavor Thesaurus or something like that, which was a, it was literally that. It was a, see Paul, it was a book of matching flavors and whatnot. Like what flavors went with what, with a dominant flavor, and it would give you associated flavors. And it was okay, but it had problems. Anyway, somebody else released something very, very similar, which allows you to do very accurate classic flavor pairings. So maybe we'll have like a make your own sandwich night. We'll work on that somehow. In any case, I'm going to go finish my sandwich. Thanks everybody for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. I love doing this for you guys, and I'll see you next week.